All right, let's get this show on the road. Some upbeat things to talk about. And is your ELD on the list of bad ELDs? We'll talk about it here right after this. Stay tuned. Yes. Good morning. Hope all is well. It is Wednesday, November 20th. Can you believe that we've only got a week and a day between before Thanksgiving happens here in America? Which, we'll talk about that next week about strategies of holiday running. Some of you probably may not run over Thanksgiving, and some of you probably don't care about Thanksgiving, which is fine. You'd rather be home for Christmas. That's kind of how I was, but I can only think of a couple of Thanksgivings that I missed. One in particular, I believe, I was on the road. The other one, we did our holiday, the weekend after or something like that. So, but good morning. Hope all is well. Hope you're staying safe. There's a lot of bad weather we're going to talk about coming up. And, it's that time of year. So it's going to get worse as far as weather goes. And I don't know. Other than that, I've got a few things to talk about. I've got the ELD situation. I've got a few tabs. And of course, we'll look at the market. CDN is very generous, and he sends me a market report every Monday or Tuesday. And it's pretty insightful. I mean, it kind of gives you an overview of what DAT and Sonar talks about. And of course, we go over the 1, 2, 3 low board stuff, and then a lot of people like that. So I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Sorry I didn't go live on Monday. I tried to go live Monday, but I got interrupted and I had to deal with it, and then just never got back, right? So I tried I think I was going to go live yesterday, but before I could do that, because you guys probably got a thing saying live at so and so p.m. 8 a.m. or whatever, and it never happened. But business and work comes first before the YouTube. That's why my channel's not huge, because I don't put the amount of effort into it that some people do. So, but we're learning, we're getting better, maybe. So anyways, but I enjoy doing this. Whether I've got 10 people in here or 100 people in here, I enjoy doing this. first things first, let's check the weather, and then we'll get into the comments, and then we'll go over low board stuff. So let me share the screen here. We've got the National Weather Service up here. Here's your list of warnings and watches and all that stuff. As you can see, winter is in full effect there in Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and actually, obviously North Dakota, a little bit of South Dakota, a lot of wind and a lot of red flag warnings there in Nevada. But I guess there's going to be some major rain and wind coming in on the West Coast. I did not watch the weather this morning because I got distracted, and it's gonna get interesting on the West Coast. So there's like what do they call that? They call it it's some kind of air cyclone or something like that. It's basically almost like a hurricane coming towards the West Coast there. So it's going to get interesting, and throughout California, Washington, Oregon. Of course, you're already seeing like blizzard warnings here in Washington. So then you got high winds here through Nebraska, South Dakota, and then what are these? What's this color box here? Wind advisories. So you got a lot of wind going on here. So just be aware. If you're light going through this area, I've got one truck in this area making some deliveries, so we got to be careful. And then we got some fog going on. I believe that's what that is. Oh, air quality alert. So this little stretch between Tennessee, Kentucky, a little bit of Indiana, Ohio has got some air quality. So not sure what that's about. And then you got these little purple things, freeze warning there in Texas there, right off the panhandle. So just be safe, be aware. Let's see if we can get the radar up here, see what's going on right now. Yeah, as you can see, a lot of rain there off I-5. I-5 is going to be pretty treacherous for the next few days there on the West Coast. And then, let's see, I-29. And then you got some action going on here in Indiana. So, but anyways, what else? What else we're going to talk about here? And then we'll get to the comments. Yeah, let me get the FMCSA deal here. This is from Landline Magazine. This was posted on Monday, November 18th. 3 electronic logging devices have been removed from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's list of approved devices. Announced that Keep Tracking, Rolling Trans ELD Accurate 1, and Rolling Trans ELD Plus Accurate Plus have been added to its list of revoked devices. According to the agency, the electronic logging devices were removed from the approved list because they failed to meet the minimum requirements established, which requires an ELD without a printer be designed so that the display may be reasonably viewed by an authorized safety official without the official entering the commercial motor vehicle. Carriers with trucks equipped with any of the 3 revoked ELDs will have until January 17th, 2025 to replace the units with a compliant device. Failing to do so by the deadline will result in a no record of duty status and being placed out of service. Prior to that deadline, carriers using any of the now revoked electronic logging devices should revert to using paper logs or logging software to record their hours of service data. The agency added that the interim safety officials are encouraged not to cite drivers using these revoked ELDs for either not using a registered device or having no record of duty status. It could be added back, if it corrects all the deficiencies. In total, FMCSA has placed 14 electronic logging devices on the revoked list this year for the same reason. Only one of those ELDs was added back to the approved list. There are currently 1,018 devices on the registered ELD list. That's interesting. I didn't know that. All of those self-certified by the manufacturer as being compliant with federal regulations. While FMCSA does not endorse any of the devices on the registered list, the lack of oversight has created issues for carriers when it comes to maintaining compliance with the mandate. Now that really surprises me that they don't have recommendations. I would think that if I was Samsara, uh, Motive, Teletrack, I would want to convince the government to endorse my product, right? That way, and it would be easy to do. You go up to the the government people in place and say, what do you guys like to see? And they might go, well, we prefer Samsara because it's really easy to read, da 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 da, that kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe I'm just weird. Well, that's a positive, right? Let's see. In November 2022, the owner-operator, basically OIDA, requested the agency establish a comprehensive certification process when it comes to electronic logging devices, saying it has become abundantly clear that the current self-certification process has been a major disservice to motor carriers. In addition to self-certifying, FMCSA also allows ELD manufacturers to self-revoke non-compliant devices. There are currently 242 ELDs on the revoked list. Of those, only 31 were added by the agency, with the remaining 211 devices carrying a status of self-revoked. So, and then there's this big recall by Mac and International, the Bendix thing. So that's interesting. That was earlier this month. A lot of recalls here lately with these trucks. You pay $120,000, $160,000 for a vehicle and you expect it to work, right? All right. Good morning, Gen Z. You are first. Good morning. Cheap Freight Hauler. Good morning. Desert Oak PM. Good morning. Kettleman D. Another great episode of Morning Coffee. Yes, I've got my coffee in my sanctuary mug, and yeah. Sorry I haven't been live as much as I used to, and the OG channel is. I was going to go live with it yesterday, but then I got interrupted again. So apparently, I just need to go live at like 3 a.m. when no one will watch, because that's the only time I don't seem to get interrupted. I've been battling a few things here lately, so just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's good that I don't go live sometimes, because I might say something that I regret, because sometimes my filter comes off. So Shannon Thomas, woohoo, good morning, folks, in at the house. Truck is in the shop getting B service. Yep. Good deal. It's about time. So Gen Z this morning made 9 days in the gym. Solar field starts 30 minutes earlier, so that means 4 a.m. wake up. Good deal. I've not been making it to the gym, and I'm very ashamed of it. So there we go. The Right Way to Truck. Good morning. Nice name. I got lucky last week. What they thought was a chassis wiring harness issue was only a bad water pump speed sensor, covered by engine warranty, but I didn't know I had a 2-speed water pump, and speed sensors about $1,700 to diagnose and replace. Wow. That's kind of, isn't that like, that's one of the most stressful things about being an owner operator. You go into the shop and you might be looking at $1,000, you might be looking at $10,000, and all it is one electronic diagnosis difference. And that's why it's when people ask me, hey Steve, should I become owner operator? I'm like, well, what are the shops like in your area? Are they trustworthy? A lot of these trucks can't be shade treed anymore, and you want to have a shade tree mechanic do your shocks and tires and stuff like that, if you can't do it yourself. But when it comes to the electronics and warranty repair, there's a lot of changes happening in the market just in the time that I've been a part of. I've been an owner operator since 2016, or I was, I ended it last year, but that was probably Like if someone said, "What is the most stressful thing about being an owner operator?" It's the equipment and the unreliability of it. As trucks have gotten more comfortable and have been able to be more electronic and more data, they've become more and more expensive to fix. And even with a warranty, warranties can give kind of a false confidence because you still got tires, you still got shocks, you still got, you know, water pumps and radiators and, those kind of repairs. But then the DPF systems are just, they're one of the worst things that could have happened in the trucking industry because of the amount of cost it takes to repair them, to maintain them. Even the DEF fluid, which was cheap at one time. I was going over um like an old notebook with one of my drivers yet the other day, and DEF was like not even $3 a gallon now. Now it's like pretty expensive. And then God forbid if you got to do the bulk stuff like from inside the store or whatever, which I've had to do a couple of times. So that's your biggest thing. People can sit there and evaluate all their finances at home and all that, but man, that truck could wipe you out pretty quickly. So it's imperative that you know your numbers, and it's imperative that you try to reduce your costs as much as possible. You don't want to lose your house over a bad DPF system. So bomb cyclone, that's it. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam. That was a question regarding the weather pattern that was happening. It's going to happen in the West Coast. I don't know the timing of that. Like I said, I did not watch the weather this morning. TK, hey now. How you doing, man? Are you surviving? I guess I'll get my first snow of the year tomorrow. I love snow. Is that sarcasm? Good morning, Steve. 2025 will be very interesting in supply chain management. If you're a one truck carrier, stay nimble. Establish yourself with regular brokers. More brokers want more than 5 trucks. This is true. CDN is not talking out of his butt. I've seen this with more and more brokers. I had somebody call me a couple weeks ago needing some help, and I said, well, you should check CH Robinson. And he said, well, I work with CH Robinson all the time, but the particular load I was looking at, that particular customer only wants them to use carriers that are above a certain number. And you're going to start seeing that more and more and more. The brokers don't want to work with the one truck operations as much as they used to. Even TQL is like getting picky about the carriers that they're bringing on. So he is speaking truth right there in this comment. And there's that's the challenge. If you're under 5 trucks, you've got some major hurdles to deal with: the insurance, compliance, and then the brokers that will work with you. You got to have a special niche to get to kind of to deal with the brokers that are mom and pop. We had a really driver and I had a really great conversation about a broker or with a broker. Oh, hold on. All right, I'm back. Anyways, it's becoming more and more challenging for 1 and 5-to-1 truck operations. So just keep that in mind. That's a great question, Chief Freight Hauler. CDN is your brokerage considering a minimum truck policy? Usually a lot of times it's the customer. But there are volumes, right? So your broker might say, well, you don't do enough volume with us. and CH and Coyote do that a lot. So it's and they're paying attention to the volume. I've got Arrive Logistics call me every day wondering why we're not using them, and I keep telling them, well, they're yellow with our factoring company, and so a lot of drivers are avoiding you. And I've had to explain this to, like, literally, this is not an exaggeration, literally 10 different people. And because they all of a sudden they see our volume drop down because I used to use them a lot. I had a really good rapport with one or two of their guys. We'd have Google Chat going on, and it was a great dynamic. And then, if you don't pay your bills, I mean, that's what happens. So you got to be careful with that. But having those relationships is important. That's what's helping me gotten this far in the dispatch world. And that's how you get the loads that don't hit the low board. That's how you get the loads that have a way better rate than what other people are running for. And the more leverage you have going into a situation, the better. So SST, what's up? Chief Freyhaller, if you go live at 3 a.m., you'll get interrupted by deer strike notifications. Yeah, that's true. That's probably what would happen. Flatbed trucker, good morning. Gary Cook, warranty don't pay for the downtime. That is a great point, Gary. Imagine you have a $4,000 a month truck note and the turbo goes out. Well, it's under warranty, so you're not spending like $12,000 to get that fixed. But it might take them 2 or 3 weeks to get it done. That bank still wants their money. PACCAR Financial still wants that money. So it's that's something that you have to consider. So selling out on Thanksgiving, found a buyer for all my equipment to make an easy transition back to my old company gig. Good news, boys. Capacity is leaving. LOL. Well, good luck to you, man. I hope that it serves you, and thanks for sharing your story. So, Chasing Ghosts, hello. Buck Brown, my fellow Snorelordians, good morning. Barely surviving, says TK, which is unacceptable. And so, TK, I know a little bit about your situation with conversation. You definitely have to make some changes. And I believe you've been told what they need to be. There's some good people that have tried to help you. And so, we'll say a small prayer for you and hope that you figure it out. Because the rates are starting to come up a little bit, but not enough to rescue businesses, just enough to make it a little bit easier when the time comes to get things done. So my name is Nobody. Good morning. Buck Brown, morning, Tara. What a pleasant surprise. Chasing Ghost. I think doing 5 truck only companies will severely limit capacity and then drive rates up. Then they'll say, never mind, I'll go back to the cheaper rate, or at least hopefully. Let's talk about JB Hunt for a minute. JB Hunt literally switched to Go Highway, and it eliminated like 3,000 carriers for them. We were among that 3,000. And when we called them to find out why, they said, well, this new system booted like 3,000 carriers, so we're having to go through each one and manually override. And so I haven't checked their load board in a while. I can't even log in. And I don't know if they're hurting or not. Like, I don't know if it's affected them or not. So, I mean, that's a good theory. But, I look, here's the deal. I know this gal. She was a broker here out of Springfield. I think she lives in Oklahoma now. And she had a direct shipper that was Ford. And she lost that account due to bad carriers. I have friends that are brokers that have talked about the same thing. And so this is what, so a brokerage that is not trying to do a bottom feeder, they do not want to lose what they have because it's dog eat dog in their world as well. And in a world where the shippers are looking for the lowest rate, they'll drop you like a bad habit pretty quickly off of bad delivery times, and if you like, CH Robinson has their grading system. Each broker has a grading system, and that grading system allows you leverage to get more of a better rate. I mean, it's a completely whole different world. Just in the 2 years I've been doing this dispatch. If I was running my own truck right now, it would be a completely different strategy than what I used to do. And so, and then, the insurance companies have really been hammering these five truck less and less truck companies. And so a good brokerage is going to educate their shippers to say, hey, you know what? This needs to happen. This needs to happen. We've got a good group of people. And so the brokers are trying to surround themselves with good carriers. And that's why our rates went down so low, because there's too many trucks. There's too many trucks. And the report I'm going to show you guys shows that. So just not sustainable for how many single or less 5-truck carriers out there. You're right. It's not sustainable. CDN's brokerage talked about that, telling their agents, hey, look, this isn't sustainable. I told the Arrive people that. I said, the rates that you guys have been throwing at me anyways, besides the factoring thing, is not sustainable. And a couple of them are open, like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me. Da, 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 da. And then others are like, okay, click. And because training can be a challenge in both the carrier and broker world. It's a give and take relationship, and if you're not using brokers, good on you, but you have to have the same dynamics. You have to be able to negotiate. You have to be able to look ahead and see what you're going into, with that shipper. Are they paying their bills? And that's trucking. That's logistics. A lot of people, I'm going to turn this part into a short. A lot of people buy a truck or they get into a lease purchase not knowing anything about logistics. I was one of them. And so the more you can learn about logistics, the more tools you have to overcome the obstacles that can take you out. Someone write that time down for me or text it to me, please. 2909. Because that's the world we live in. This is what you sign up for. If you it's kind of like, would I open, I've always wanted to open a record store, right? But I don't know the first thing about retail. I know what I like to see as a buyer, but I don't understand the business as a seller. And so I'm not going to, thank you, CDN. I'm not going to just jump into it, put, thousands upon thousands of dollars and put my house on the line for something I know nothing about. And that's the world, that's trucking. I've told CDN this many times in our conversation. If I wanted to go to the bank and get a loan to open up a record store, they would be like, okay, what's your business plan? What are your projections? What's your product? What's your approach? What's your marketing strategy? And I can't do any of that if I don't know the retail industry, which I don't. And so it's amazing to me that someone will make a $50, $100, $150, $200,000 investment and not know the first thing about logistics. And so when the market, struggles, everybody's like caught with their pants down, what's this about? Meanwhile, I've been seeing the signs for every cycle. I got caught one time by surprise, and that was my first year of being an owner operator. January hit, and I was like, wow, this sucks. I have to make adjustments. It was very frustrating. So if you can't keep your emotions in check, if you don't develop the right mindset, then it becomes a bigger challenge, more obstacles, and the next thing you know, you're frustrated, broke, and probably divorced. There's a better way to live out there, people. Know your industry. And I'm talking like there are drivers that have been driving 30 years that still don't understand how logistics works. They understand the concept of taking from point A to point B, could tell you every truck stop on any interstate across the whole country, but they do not understand the shipper, broker, trucking company relationships and how overseas freight makes a difference, how the imports, exports in Mexico and Canada work, how the shutting down of one end of the country on their ports affects, everything else, and how the rails affect everything else, or the lack of rails. So it's a good idea to just learn. And by me getting out of the truck, and it was a slow transition, I've been able to learn more because I'm talking to the people that understand it better than I do. And that's what's helped me get this far. And surrounding myself with good people. Because a lot of the freight that I'm doing now is not on these load boards. A lot of times, the first time I'm seeing how rates are is when I'm doing a live feed. And this week is no exception. I did have to find one spot load this week. And it was something specific. So I got it. And actually, I was kind of surprised with the rate. Wow, I got a good rate for that. Cool. So when the rates are coming up, it's a little bit easier to get the money I'm asking for. Get active, outdoor, indoor, at home. 9 are at the gym. Key is to move, do something that challenges so your muscle and cardio fatigue. Just get active. Yes, I got a step counter. I tried to do that. So I had a rare moment yesterday, says Buck Brown. I was traveling south and east, and oddly enough, wound up in Indiana. Every owner op that runs close to home should check DEF prices with the local fuel supplier. I buy my DEF in bulk. Last time they filled my tote, they charged $1.92 a gallon. That's a good idea. Definitely got to run regional for that, though. Only time I buy DEF on the road is if we go on a vacation. There you go. Our brokerage's current focus avoiding one and done carriers. There you go. They have not mentioned a minimum number of trucks, but you never know when that can change. This is why Highway wants ELD connection. One of the many reasons why they want that connection. I take my physical Saturday. It gets scarier every year. Well, I mean, that's a whole different topic for a whole different day. But I lost 120 pounds as a truck driver before I got home. And, it's it's a challenge, but you can get healthy on the road. So highway ELD protection may seem like an invasion of privacy, but it helps confirm your fleet count. The fraudulent carriers cause this requirement. Be a broker for a week and you would see. Shannon says, I heard a lot of CDLs going to be downgraded. Does this mean less driver trucks? No, because Kevin made a good point on one of my live feeds that these people are already out of the pool. They're already not driving. So that's not that's hopium. that's and even so, how many of that 180,000 drivers were owner operators? And also, what companies were they with? Were they with Swift, Knight, Prime, Werner? Well, those guys have a revolving door. Their turnover rates are good anyways. Doesn't seem to affect things. So it might make a company, look harder. I mean, companies are still being pickier about drivers right now. We've had a couple of applicants that just have switched jobs too many times. If you go to our website, it says you can't switch more than so many jobs in a year's time. Buck Brown says, "Oh, I hope my CLs want to want to play no more." I was one of the 3K. I tried to contact them, but couldn't find Intelligent Life over there. After a few months of trying, I deleted their app and decided I didn't need them anymore. I don't know if I would keep using a new computer system that caused me that kind of headache. It would have to have a lot of good qualities to be worthwhile. Says Mrs. A, who's in the house. They kicked me off while under a load. Nobody could tell me why, but they could make check calls constantly because the app tracking quit working. It took 2 weeks to get someone that knew where I should send the paperwork to. I estimate that 80% of broker agents have no clue average monthly fixed cost to run a semi-trailer, be it van or flat. That probably higher. Because look, think about it, CDN, that they have one job. These people that call me from, Arrive, they have one job, to move freight. And only the insightful ones will ask, well, why aren't you guys moving that much freight with us? And then maybe out of those, I might have one that might listen, but they have no power to do anything. They show up Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with maybe a on-call email. And that's it. That's they're told to keep the load under a certain amount of money for profit margin, and has to ask the big guns for extra if it becomes a desperate situation. They're not concerned about that. And here's the thing, when fuel was going higher and higher every day, drivers would use that with the brokers. Well, fuel's going up. And and the brokers were yelling, I don't care about your fuel prices. This is what I'm moving the load for. Take it or leave it. Got it. So watch the volumes in Georgia. I did get some callbacks yesterday from brokers that passed on my rate, but called back an hour later. So it seems volumes are rising. We'll take a look at that. That's good. Thank you for the heads up on that. Steve, if rates start to go up, carriers ask for more than they did yesterday, right? Yeah, that's true. I agree, CN. You just had a broker take some business from me. They quoted $1,400 on a 900-mile lane. Only thing I could say to the customers, call me when they fail. DEF does go bad and freezes easy, so I just found the local place that charges 2.5 a gallon on the pump, so I just do that. That's a good strategy too. I think it's 16 degrees that DEF freezes. So, and it does go bad after a year. That was one of the reasons why I had to sell the truck, because I knew that DEF was going to be an issue. Because it'd been sitting there. Because I topped it off every single time I got fuel, almost every single time. Like I never got it down below 3/4 of a tank. I've been there, I've done that. Back when you didn't have DEF pumps at every single truck stop, we had to carry an extra gallon, 2 gallons in the side box as a company driver because, you never knew when you were going to get your next. So they encouraged us to fill up every single time that we could. And so that just became habit. And then, the lower the volume, the easier it is to probably freeze. So, Sage, what's up? Is there FMCSA rule that a carrier can only have one ELD brand? What if each driver does their own brand? It's not representative of total carrier truck numbers. I don't know what the complications to that are, but I would think that the fleet owner would be losing his mind because we did have 2 different ELDs at one time. When Jeff was switching from Teletrack to Samsara, it was half and half for a minute. And then as each truck could get into Michigan, he was able to replace them. I was I think either the last or the second to last to switch to Samsara. That was around the time that Jeff made me the safety manager. So, any more info on the Walmart app for like trucking? No, I haven't seen the app from a driver's perspective. There have been some complications on me logging in as a dispatcher. So we haven't really dived into it. Again, I'm not really looking as far as the individual drivers. I don't know if we got anybody running that stuff or not, but we are certified. We are good to go. And we do get emails on their loads, but I don't know if, it's a situation with us. We've got 20 drivers and, and 15 of them, dispatch themselves. 5 of them, barely run. And so, that kind of makes dynamics differently. And that Walmart thing is still so new that it's only in small areas, small pockets. And I don't know if we have a lot of drivers in those pockets. So, Josh, what's up? I've been living in my truck for the last couple of years. I'm single, but I enjoy it. I chose this lifestyle. Well, I hope. How's that working out for you? I hope that's working out for you. Shoot, I've ran 300 miles with my DEF line on trying to get home to the cheaper DEF. Man, I'm cheap. Says your name, right? Gen Z, it's not cost effective to manage IFTA from safety and standpoint. They would 10 monitors, right? Yeah. Riding Dirty, good morning from Abilene, Texas. It's an interesting place to be. I've been out there a few times. All right, so let's get to the market stuff. And yeah. Do you think power only will eventually go away? No, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. It's just, there's like let's take Schneider, for example. If they go in and they're able to leverage into a customer, into a shipper, because they can drop 20 trailers, they have more leverage than that 5-truck operation that has to do live load and live unload. So as long as there's volume for that, it's always going to be around. And as long as trailers are being bought and sold and moved around from auction to customer and customer to auction, you always have loadout trailers. Now, the problem with power only is consistency. So unless you're latched on to a make a carrier trailer pool like Schneider, Prime, USA, JB Hunt, it could become a challenge if you're just trying to do loadout trailers all the time. And, but when, we had a driver that did literally 18 trailers from, moving, I think it was a couple hundred miles. And that's all she did for a minute. And, because some company came in and bought like 18 trailers from the auction. So stuff like, but that's not, you can't build consistency off that. Now, if you're doing stuff like mail runs or FedEx runs and you're using their trailers, like that was one of the cool things about Landstar is they had a lot of accounts where you're pulling Walmart trailers or you're pulling, FedEx trailers. Then you were doing okay. because you had consistency. But I mean, contracts get renegotiated all the time. Gen Z says, I do not use ELD for IFTA. I use my GPS. Gary says, I'm doing good with my lifestyle. Good deal. In my area, I see better rates for power only than van, just harder on the other end. Yes, that's why the rates are better sometimes. But I see what you mean with IFTA. Drivers sometimes can't be trusted to do their own tracking properly, and they will audit you if it's off. I'm doing the USA Truck power only thing. I'm doing very well with it. I stay busy. So as long as USA Truck keeps their negotiations good and they're getting good rates and they're not driving their own rates down, then that creates consistency for you, which is what you need in your situation. My uncle lived in a Peterbilt for 20 years, but was hit hard and completely lost when health took him off the road. He lives on government assistance now with no real hope. And that's the thing, CDN's always talking about retirement, investments. And I mean, if you're making good money now, investing is investing and other streams of income are important because you never know when they're going to revoke that CDL. I know so many people that have lost their CDL just due to health. I mean, you could be the best budgeter, you can have the best operation, you can have the best customers. Well, what good are they if you have to get off the road? And that's something that a lot of drivers overlook. I mean, go to a truck show and see how healthy we all are, and you'll see that that's a struggle. So, truck driver don't retire; they just get a new Peterbilt. All right, so let's take a look at let's share the screen here. So let's click on this. This is a good looking thing. I know it's still, but the fact that we're like overall market is almost in the loose category shows that capacity is tightening a little bit. Reefer market is halfway to neutral, which is good, and then flatbeds not far behind it. We're still soft in the van market, but it's getting a little bit higher. That was almost to the bottom here, so that's good news, right? Here's your spot rates. They're leveling off in van. Reefer is dropped down a little bit, probably because of the season. No, that's flatbed. I'm sorry, probably because of the season. But reefer's on its way up a little bit from 238 to 243, and we're holding steady at 202 in van. Green screens, not much to say about that. Outbound tender volume index is getting a little bit better. We're right there. Let's see what these other graphs. So let's get rid of this here. The takeaway from the national outbound tender volume is that volumes in November have continued to decline from an early September peak and are now below 2023 levels. So here I am full of it. Capacity is slightly lighter relative to 2019 and well beyond 2023 this time of year. So they're saying the national van rate is 202, national flatbed rate is 239, national reefer rate is 243. So tender rejections remain at 5.1%. Anything above 6%, that's the magic number when we show tightening, and we're not, and it's decreased a little bit. Flatbed outbound is 10.38%, and the reefer outbound is 16.2%. So van is still the slow game here. So van is still at 5.1. So that's kind of where we're at. Declining numbers indicate carriers are losing pricing power, while increasing numbers indicate carriers are gaining pricing power. So that this market data is pretty important. And again, know your industry, man. All right, so let's talk about this. Some of this stuff is significant. Okay, talk about the 178,000 CDL holders will be prohibited. We already talked about that. The international, and that happened, well, today. Was that today? No, that was Monday. This is interesting. So go out and panic buy toilet paper. The International Longshores Association and the United States Maritime Alliance have broken off contract negotiations with East and Gulf Coast port employers, stating that port employers are pushing for automation technology that may eliminate union jobs. So we're back to that. We're back to square one on that. Uber Freight on Thursday unveiled a new program, Broker Access, that offers freight brokers direct access to its carrier network and digital platform. That's interesting. We might have to look into that later. FMCSA has launched Operation Protect Your Load, its first ever enforcement initiative targeting unlawful freight brokerage practices, active across 17 states. Well, there you go. They're trying to do something about it. Check this out. Japanese automaker Toyota plans to strengthen its manufacturing presence in Mexico with a $1.45 billion investment towards the production of Toyota's newest generation of Tacoma pickup trucks, as well as production of a new line of Tacoma hybrid electric vehicles. And they're putting that in Mexico. The markets that are struggling with capacity with tender rejection rates rising over the past week have predominantly in the Pacific Northwest, with tender rejection rates in Oregon experiencing largest increases. I've noticed that in van, but I definitely noticed that in the flatbed world. This one affects CDN. Canada's busiest maritime gateways will be handling containers again after Canada Industrial Relations Board ordered longshore workers to return to the ports of Vancouver and Prince Rupert in British Columbia. And Exo Logistics is planning on 400 layoffs at 2 sites by the year end, following over 500 job cuts across the U.S. early in 2023. Is that Exo or is that RXO? I don't know. Anyways, let's go to low board stuff. Let me catch up on the comments here. CNN says Gen Z and audit requests will change your perspective. Do you write mileage on every receipt? Your GPS has no report features. It's almost 2025. Get a good ELD with IFTA compliant reports. Saves time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as you report every mile traveled in every state and report every gallon you purchase and keep trip reports, that's all IFTA needs. I personally have had more issues relying on ELD for that rather than keeping tabs myself. Does Like Trucking do anything with Amazon? Yes. Yep. Shannon was running that for a minute. We've got a driver that runs it quite a bit in the Northeast. It's off and on. We do get emails from them every day. So yes, we do. We have done Amazon Relay stuff. Those IFTA audits are tough. Knew a company once that got audited wasn't reporting correctly. They got a $50,000 fine. I have known lots of folks doing it my way in past audits. No problem. No reason to change now. My father-in-law runs a glider. Has to do it this way too. There you go. All right. So this is our density map. This is for all the trailers. Let's check out van 48065 if you want to try out the low board for yourself and check out the tools. There's my code scrolling on the bottom there. Yeah, Washington is definitely dry there, but let's take a look at what's coming out of California. Oh, no, you know what? Chief Frey wanted to see Georgia volumes. They're showing 588 inbound, 484 outbound. Let's get that up here. Let's refresh this. Georgia is showing 1930 in and 1261 out. So you are right. There are increasing volumes in Georgia. This was a 3-digit number at one point. Not to the point that you're going to get like $3 a mile coming out, but it might be a little bit easier to deal with, and then the brokers may they're going to get hung up on a couple more times than they normally do. Illinois looks good here. Indiana looks good. Kansas is even, so that's good to see. Kentucky looks good. Louisiana's even, a little bit more out than in. That's good. Massachusetts is a crap show. Maryland, all the Northeast, except for probably PA. PA 1404 in. Oh, look at Pennsylvania, 954 out. So yeah, Pennsylvania is taking a change. New Jersey is, yeah. So in the Northeast, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get good rates out. So let's take a look at that. So let's go to New Jersey here. Edgewater, PA to Queens, New York. $500. Edgewater Park, New Jersey. I'm sorry, not PA. Picks up at 10 a.m. on tomorrow. Delivers same day, 3 p.m. Their post rate's 500. Cargo Chiefs got it 529. There's no toll costs on this. That's interesting. Let's sort this by highest rate. Let's see where the long haul stuff's going out of Jersey. 4,100 to go to Washington. $1.42. $1.19 to go to California. $1.11. Not much. Not much. Even approaching $1.45. Wow. $2.39 to go to Tampa. So that's, if you live in Florida, that's actually a good lane. You're probably going to get more out of Florida to New Jersey than you would going anywhere else. $1.48 to go to Oklahoma. No. $1.94 to go to Florida. So if we sort this by highest rate per mile, that's going to bring up all the short haul. And it's probably going further northeast. So let's do rate per mile here. Yeah, $375 to go to Aberdeen, Maryland, 59 miles. Reading, PA, $434. Bunch of those. 662, $5 a mile to go to Connecticut. $700 go to Bronx. Let's take a look at this one. Tolls are $172. So you're not netting a whole lot on this one. Although it's 20% above my cost per day, which is set at $358. But many of you don't have that cost that low. So that's whether that's profitable or not is completely up to your operation. And the broker's not concerned about that. Yeah, so as I suspected, the highest rate per mile are going further northeast. Here's one going to Virginia. I would want to look at the outbound out of Virginia before I did that one, but at least get you out of the northeast if you're trying to head south. But a bunch of those. Wow, a lot of those. Holy crap. 740 go from Dayton to more Virginia. Some PA, and then Tampa. Let's take a look at this one going to Tampa. Green screen is not available at this time. So the AI hasn't even, oh, it's hazmat. That's why it's paying so well. There's Edison to Battleborn, North Carolina. That wouldn't be too bad. $1,000. Let's see what this is about. Food and beverage. This picks up not until next week. Appreciate the concern, CDN. Good deal. Morning, kids. David, what's up? How's your eyebrows doing? Have they grown back yet? Let's take a look at Missouri. Let's see what's coming out of my home state here. My coffee has gotten cold. Dang it. Sort this by rate per mile. $700 going to Mount Vernon, Illinois from Jackson, Missouri. That's not bad. Almost $650 a mile, and you're landing in a decent spot in Illinois. Jefferson City, Bentonville. Now let's go over that here and see what Arkansas is doing. 381 in, 468 out. So you could probably get a decent load out of there. Let's take a look at that. $900 to go from Jeff City to Bentonville. Picking up tomorrow 8, delivering. Oh, straight through delivery. $900 for a straight through delivery. 260 miles. Boom. There you go. 10,000 pounds. This is a great load. This is a great load. I like this load.
Do you need me to hot you up?
Yeah. Warm me up, baby. Is that coffee even warm?
It's warmer than what's in your cup.
Thank you. That's good. Isn't my wife great? You didn't see her. She's very stealthy. Not really. Yeah, put it in the microwave and put some more stuff in it. I mean, she's the one with a full-time job, and I'm making her get my coffee. Well, she volunteered. That's my yeah. She does it on her own accord. Isn't she awesome? And ladies and gentlemen, let me take this off the screen for a minute. It's her birthday on Friday. So everybody say happy birthday. And my daughter. Like when my daughter was born, I was like, happy birthday. You know. So it's her birthday on Friday. So when we go live on Friday, hopefully we'll go live on Friday. You guys all say happy birthday to Mrs. A. So what's going on in Colorado? I've been seeing rates that I thought were decent for Colorado, or am I just clouded by the crap rates we have had in Georgia? I don't know. Let's add this again so we can take a look. Oh, Colorado. Colorado's yellow. Normally they're red. $1.27 to go to Louisville. So all right, so let's do the highest rate per mile on Colorado. Wow, look at this. 316 a mile, $626 going to Nebraska. 211 to go to Concord. Wow. Oh, thank you. She surprised me with the other direction. There's a bunch of people saying happy birthday. She says thank you, everybody. To the 4 people. It's we're the same age for a month. We're the same number age for 1 month. So yeah, what's this? This is empty cans. Wow, plated. Oh, man, this is a good load. They're at $3,300. Picks up today, delivers Friday. You're going to struggle to get out of North Carolina, but actually not bad. So that's a good deal right there. If you can if you go to Denver, look at Golden. Look at Golden, Colorado. If it's a light number, it's empty cans. Anytime I've gotten a good rate out of there, it was these empty cans. Besides the contract stuff we had. And of course, 208 to go to Florida, $4,000. That's actually like above the regular. Also picks up today. Picks up here in about an hour. Or less than an hour, yeah. Oh, it's hay. Oh. Man, that'll leave your trailer messy, but that's why it's a higher rate. Then they're going to give a little bit more money when the weather's not great. So, yeah. Well, let's look at the inbound. Whoops. Let's look at the inbound in Colorado. Let's see what that's paying. Highest rate per mile. Utah to Leadville, Colorado, $357 a mile, $1,600. There's some good daily rates here. Salt Lake City to Greeley, Colorado, 3,500. That's 1,000 miles from California. Fallon to Denver. Here's a load for Sterling. Oh wait, Sterling doesn't drive anymore, so good on him. Los Angeles. Now let's go to the market, right? Let's go to the market rates here. Let's do Los Angeles, California to Denver, Colorado. Looking at 356 a mile on the average right now. Green screens has got it at 318. Negotiation strength is high for this lane, so you can justify a higher rate, which I always do with Denver. I've literally negotiated $1,000 from their posted rate on stuff going to Denver. Now let's reverse this. Looking at $1.04, $1.42, as low as 92 cents a mile. So the AI's got it at between 950 and 1264. Cargo Chief's got it 1462. So if you're getting, 350 one direction and 150 the other direction, could you make that work? So I mean, I love this market rate tool. And it's just like, okay, so let's take a look at flatbed. Flatbed Denver to Los Angeles is about $1.50. $1.50 to $1.83. But then if we reverse it, wow, that's not very high at all for flatbed. 246. Whereas van was like $1 higher. Look at the fluctuation on this. 2519 was the low on green screens, and then 4092 was the high. But as you can see, there's the volumes here. You couldn't make a lane out of this going back and forth. So Is that Walgreens in Mount Vernon, Illinois? I don't know. Everyone, what will it take for 70% of carriers to say trucking is great again? Not just rates, but also what regulations? Give 10,000 foot perspective, please. Of course, all the happy birthday deals. David says, I've actually kept the eyebrows gone. It keeps glasses cleaner. Wow. That's interesting, David. Wow. Do you get funny looks? Like, do you get like double takes? Like, whoa, wait, what? No. Ghost Cat says question mark. So let's do let's do reefer here. Put reefer up on the screen. A lot of yellow in states that are normally red. Idaho's green, Washington's green, California's green. Low volumes out of Georgia. Let's take a look at DAT. Let's put this to reefers. Take out van. Georgia's 11:15 in and 5:58 out. More loads coming out than in Maine. That's neat. Michigan's a bust. What's Wisconsin doing? 220 went in, 560 out. Washington. Now this is the time of year for Christmas trees. Anybody in the chat doing Christmas trees? Let's take a look at Washington. Let's see if we can find any. Because I know a lot of them come out of there. And a lot of them come out of Michigan, but Michigan volumes aren't showing that really. $3 a mile to go to California. Reefer, 40,000. Grocery. So that's not. Let's do the highest rate per mile. Because a lot of Christmas tree runs are multi-stop as well. 4,900 to go to Aurora, Colorado. If it's trees, they're not saying. Ooh, 8,000 to go to Pittsburgh from Spokane. Let's take a look at that one. Team driven, yes. Huh. And they are way above the cargo chief level even. So there's probably multiple stops. This might be trees. Although I don't imagine trees being 42,000 pounds. That might be a generic weight. 7,000 to go to Texas. 8,000. Pittsburgh. See, Worldwide's got Moses Lake to Atlanta. So some pretty good rates coming out of Washington. Wow, for reefer. That is pretty cool. Now, van is going to be a different story. Let's look at the inbound rates. Jerome to Washington. 321 a mile, $2,100. So Jerome's got some shipping going on, going up to Washington. So if you got a load to Idaho and then a load to Washington, and then Washington out, that'd be good. That'd be a good triangle. CDN says, "Great show, Steve. I've worked with you. Have a great day. Gave a great day. You did give us a great day. Thank you, CDN. I've seen postings in Oregon. 9K Washington to Dallas, Texas. 4 drops Christmas tree. Is that possible? Heard it from a friend. Yes. Yes. When I was at Landstar, that was a lot of the newbies did that. I never did the Christmas trees because I didn't want to deal with the icing in the vans. But that's why they pay so well, is you got to ice them down. So you're not, you got to stop every so often, especially on something from Washington to Dallas. So you're going to have to ice them down. It keeps them wet, because you don't want to show up with dry trees. And then the mess, like if you have a wood walled trailer, it's going to be a mess. If you have a plate trailer, you're still going to have needles in a lot of the cracks and crevices, but they're difficult to clean. And then of course the trailer's got to dry out if they're icing it down. If you're using a van, if you're using a reefer, go for it, right? You don't need to ice it down, get it done in one shot, and you're good to go. So if you're able to get on those Christmas trees, then and you're willing to do that, then that's good money this time of year. Like I would almost argue that if you could do Christmas trees for the entire month of November, you could probably take December off. Or, work until the second week of December and then take the rest of the year off because the Christmas tree money. So that would be the way I would do that. But I never did them at Landstar because, number one, half the trailers at that time were wood walled side, and we were told not to do Christmas tree loads if you have wood walls. And I never ran that area. I went up to Idaho one time at Landstar. And as a company driver, I've only been to like Seattle a couple of times. So, I only went out, like I went to Seattle, I think a couple of times. I did go to Oregon once. I did go to California once. And that's it, and then a couple of times to Arizona. And then one time in Montana. And then a lot of loads going to Salt Lake. So that's the only Western driving I've ever done. I've done all the states except for Nevada. We had fireworks loads that went to North Dakota, South Dakota, Michigan. I've never been up to the UP in Michigan. I've been up to Maine, of course. I've been able to throw a rock and hit a Canadian if I wanted to. So, I've been that close to Canada, but I've not, and I've delivered in Minot, North Dakota. But for the most part, my experience going out west just wasn't worth it for the rates coming out. So, yeah, wood wall's been a while ago. Yeah, and it. I mean, look, Landstar's trailer pool wasn't the best. I mean, the people at Schneider complained, but at least the Schneider trailers are plate trailers, right? So. I read an article a long time ago. A driver took Christmas trees and a receiver rejected the load. Then the shipper rejected the load. He was stuck with the load of trees. I imagine that happens, and that's the thing about doing anything agricultural, like watermelons, hay, Christmas trees, nursery stuff. There is that potential. It's easier to get rid of some watermelons than it is Christmas trees. And, and then at the end of the day, there's a cargo claim filed and you're just stuck with them and you got to dump them somewhere. That would suck. That would suck for sure. So if you're doing Christmas trees, I would only do it with a broker that you can trust, that will have a solution if things go south. So Idaho SSD. The weight restrictions are significant on the bridge to the UP. Yep. Truckers Education Network. Hello, everyone. Jeff is in the house. Everybody say hello to Mr. Like, who, by the way, has a really good library of videos. It was his Landstar versus Snyder video that inspired me to switch platforms when I was struggling. All right. So let's go to flatbed and step deck. We'll throw them in together. And if you like tarpon and chaining, these are the places for you. Washington is looking good, looking really good. Look at that, 522 outbound, only 24 inbound. Let's take a look at that. Let's do highest rate. Let's see where all the long haul stuff's going. Still not breaking $2 a mile on the long haul, so that's interesting. Not like reefer. Wow. All right, let's sort this by rate per mile. See if we can't find the longer load that pays good. A lot of Oregon, Montana, 2,200 to go 597 miles, 2,200 in one day. That's not bad. Of course, getting out of Montana. Montana is yellow on this map, though, so that's good. Better than a sharp stick in the eye. $307 to go to California. $2,000 to go to Montana. Another one. Some good rates going to Cali. So let's take a look at that. Let's go to market rates here. And let's do Los Angeles instead of Denver, we'll do Seattle. Wow. They're not paying to go into Seattle. At least here, but on Cargo Chiefs, it's got it at 28.12, so 248 a mile. Then if we reverse this, $210, so that's not bad. So could you make a career going up and down I-5? Possibly, but man, you're going to deal with some really rough weather here for a while. So I don't know if it'd be worth it to run that lane or not. Cascade says, good morning. Chief Freight Hauler says he wants to drive along across the Mackinac Bridge. I've never done that either. If I ever go visit Jeff up in Michigan, he'll have to take me on the bridge. See what that's like. Or maybe I'll have to rescue a truck up in the UP. Who knows? Either way. But there's your flatbed step deck areas. You know, it's hard for me to say what rates are good or bad in this area. It's just what's sustainable. That's Cascade's department. So, all right, guys, I've been live long enough. I need to get to work. So hopefully we'll be live on Friday, the 22nd. And you guys can tell my wife happy birthday yet again, because, that's a great thing to do, at least in my house. And, we'll go over some market stuff and look at some strategies and see where this holiday freight is going and areas to stay in. And things are looking decent this week. So just pay attention to weather. And that's it. So strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Yeah, so look for some more shorts from me. And if you got any questions, you can email me at snorelord@yahoo.com. And if you're interested in joining Like Trucking, our web address is it's liketrucking.com. And make sure you look at the list of qualifications before you put in an application. But other than that, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Aggression turns the screws. Be safe, be good. Later.